Happy to have you aboard here for the Really Big Barbecue Show.
Boing.
We cook because we have to, and we grill because we want to.
Hit me.
Fine, how's it going?
You have a great show. I'm a big fan.
Boing.
So what seems to be the problem here? This man looks like he's dead, and he's in the crackle. Charbono! It's all about the Charbono, dude.
Succulent fish. What?
He ate 54 wieners.
But listen, Lavernius, shut your face.
I'm shaking like a dog shit peach seeds.
We have top men working on it right now. Top men.
And just like that, we are into the second hour. It's the Barbecue Central Show, where we talk about only the most important barbecue and grilling items of the day. This show originating from
Palm City, USA, Cleveland.
Still to come on this show tonight, Chris Prieto from Prime Barbecue. Closing out the show, Daniel Vaughn from Texas Monthly. So you can look forward to that. We say good evening to those of you watching tonight through one of our video streaming platforms. You go to facebook.com/BBQ Central Show. You can also watch on YouTube, which is youtube.com/@BBQ Central Show. We have a new YouTube poll question of the week that we're asking everybody, including all guests, which is this. Is banana pudding the best barbecue side? And currently 67% of you are saying no. Bad news, 67% of you are wrong, because banana pudding is the best barbecue side. And as I said in the first hour, easily, by far, light years ahead of any other barbecue dessert, to say the least. That's me talking. So it is the best barbecue side. It is the best barbecue dessert. Put that together. If you're mediocre, or if your barbecue is mediocre and your banana pudding is stellar, if that's the thing I'm talking about coming out of your restaurant, I'm coming back to your restaurant and just getting the banana pudding. I'm that guy. You want any meat with that? No, your shit sucks. I will take 7 banana puddings to go, because those are delicious. That's the best thing on the menu. Like you don't want to see that. If you're a restaurateur, I don't think you want to see the best thing on the half-star review on the Yelpers or the Googles. Best thing on the menu was the banana pudding. Now, as a reader of reviews, if I see that, I'm going, that gets me there. I'm not going to be like, oh, if they're leading with the best thing on the menu is the dessert, then I'm not going. I will take a different approach. If it says the best thing on the menu was the banana pudding, what's the name of that place? And I'm going there tomorrow. That is a urgent carrier of me to any food establishment. Best thing on the menu is the banana pudding. By the way, I believe Ryan Zaboral of Pitch and Spit said that a good banana pudding should taste like fake bananas. Ryan, you're wrong. It should not taste like... It should not.
Andrew,
It should not taste like fake banana. The best banana puddings taste like banana with the vanilla custard. Oh, it's light. Vanilla wafers. Oh, I wish I had 8 gallons of Leo Batello's banana pudding right now. It's the best I've ever had. Anyway, 67% of you are saying no, banana pudding, not the best barbecue side. Don't forget, coming up this coming Friday, we have a new episode of the Best Moments of Barbecue Central Show in 10 minutes or less. And if you can believe it, it will be episode 389. Holy moly. 11 episodes, ever so close, approaching 400 episodes of just that podcast alone. And then add that to the, 17 or 1,800 shows that I've done on Barbecue Central. 18 plus 4 is... so we're well over 2,000 episodes in totality between the two shows. Nothing else touches us. You can subscribe to this show or the Barbecue Central Show in 10 minutes or less this coming by visiting the website. thebbqcentralshow.com/subscribe. And if you would like to hear a guest or a segment again that you think has been lost in what is now the extensive archives of the show, you can email John and let him know what you would like to hear. And his email address is John, Jon, Jon, at thebbqcentralshow.com. And he'll do his best to meet your expectation. So, two things. Here's what's happening. I'm not bragging, but this is what's happening this weekend for me. Finally, after, I got to know this guy through social media channels. No, it's even longer than that. It's been a one-sided relationship, I think, since 1997. Let me write that down. And then when I lived in Wickliffe, Ohio, and I've lived here in Willoughby, which I believe coming up this summer now will be 7 years? It could be 7 years. All right, so let's quickly do the math here. 1997, so let's add 3 to that. That's 2000. And we're currently in 2025. It appears that I have known about this person for 27 years. Is that right? That can't be right. No. 28 years. Yes. And we have had, so that's it. So for 28 years, it's been a one-way relationship of knowing. Okay, that's part A. Part B, 7, 8, 9 years, let's say 10 maybe. 10 years of that 28 years has also been a two-way relationship where we have transacted with each other through social media. Originally, it was, I think, an Instagram direct message asking about something barbecue related. Of course, I knew who he was immediately, and I was very excited to interact with him because of the other reason that I knew of him, but had no idea he was such a big barbecue guy. So that really galvanized our relationship, was his obvious love and passion for barbecue and grilling. And then what also finalized the galvanization is what he had done for a living and what I had listened to for all those years. What I'm getting to is this, folks.
A Barbecue Central Show exclusive news update.
Greg Rempe reporting from the breaking news desk here in Cleveland, Ohio, the city that breaks the most live-fire breaking news across the country, nay, the globe. This coming Friday, I will be meeting in person as he is traveling to this here Rock and Roll Hall of Fame city and barbecue capital of the North Coast. One executive producer of the Howard Stern Show, Jason Kaplan. We have a whole date set up Friday late afternoon into the evening and then well into the night, where we will be gallivanting across the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame city. We will be taking in some of the finest barbecue eating establishments. We will be taking in a concert from a group that I have no idea who they are, aside from playlists that Jason has sent me to gear me up. He's a huge fan. If you know anything about the Howard Stern Show and Jason Kaplan especially, he is a rare devotee to a band called Goose, which I believe is akin to something like a band called Phish, Phish, which of course a lot of people say is an offshoot of the traditional or the original jam band, the Grateful Dead. Aside from one song, I couldn't name a Grateful Dead song. Who cares? I can tell you this, I can't name one Phish song. And while I can't name any Goose songs, I can't name any Goose songs, I have heard Goose songs.
Ooh,
yes.
This is nice.
So I am ready to jam out for what I heard. Like, when I go to concerts, They're like 2 hours long, maybe 2.5 hours long. Of course, the last handful of concerts I went to, Harry Styles with Marley, and preceding that, Ariana Grande with Marley as well. If I'm giving my 2 cents, Ariana Grande better than Harry Styles, although Marley would disagree. But she wants to marry Harry Styles too, but that's not happening, unfortunately. I've heard that Goose could play up to 4 hours. So I will just be over the moon excited to be spending real life time with a guy who I have known about and followed for 28 years of this professional career on the Howard Stern Show. And now these last 7 to 10 years actually being in a digital friendship. That sounds weird to say. But I consider Jason to be one of my closest friends. We're texting all the time, talking about a bunch of other stuff in life. So to spend time with him this coming weekend is pumping me up. Then he's coming over Saturday to the compound. I'm flying him in via helicopter from downtown. We're going to be making barbecue dinners here at the house. And who knows what decadence and debauchery is going to be going on after that. Nonsense, for sure. Then he goes back home Sunday morning. It's going to be great. Full recap coming next Tuesday. All right, Chris Prieto is ready to go in the green room. We'll get to him here in just 1 second. Before we do that, I'm talking to you about Big Papa Smokers because they're celebrating 15 years of helping both backyard hacks like me and the most elite competition pro bring home the grand championship. Whether you're prepping for the next big comp or firing up the grill for spring or summer, Big Papa's award-winning rubs like Sweet Money, competition brisket and steak, cash cow, cattle prod, all have the bold flavors to take your barbecue to the next level. And for limited time, they have brought back a fan favorite. Can you say cucaracha? I knew you could. The extra kick you've been craving is now back, so buy it while it's here. Barbecue Central Show listeners and viewers, this one's for you. You can use promo code BBQ Central 25 altogether, BBQ Central 25 to check out for free shipping now through June 30th. So you have less than 2 weeks to get in on this and save real-ass cash. Visit BigPapaSmokers.com and stock up now. Use promo code BBQ Central and then the numerals 2 and 5. BBQ Central 25 for free ground shipping. Some exclusions apply, but I do know if you buy all that rub, no exclusions apply on that free shipping. BBQ Central 25. We're back with Prime Barbecue right after this. Stick around. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Howard Stern, Jim Rome, Dan Patrick, and Greg Rempe. The Mountain Rushmore of talk show entertainment. Now, let's get back to the Barbecue Central Show.
And we welcome you back. This portion of the show being brought to you by McAuliffe Cigars. Step into the world of McAuliffe Cigars, where each blend is a chapter and a grand tale of craftsmanship and passion. The portfolio is a symphony of flavors, each note carefully composed to create an unforgettable Nicaraguan smoking experience. McAuliffeCigars.com is the website, MICALLEF, McAuliffeCigars.com, and then use the locator to find a retailer near you. Kicking it off here in the second hour is a well-established, accomplished, and winning competition pitmaster. He is also a well-established and award-winning barbecue restaurateur. If you are North Carolina driven, you've probably already heard of him. If you know anything about restaurants in general across these nifty 50, you've probably heard of him, and he is a first-time guest on this show. We are welcoming in Chris Prieto of Prime Barbecue. Chris, appreciate you coming on the show here this evening. We have a YouTube poll question of the week that we're asking everybody before we get going here tonight, which is this, and the answer is yes or no. Is banana pudding the best barbecue side?
No.
Oh, 64% of the YouTube voting public is saying that banana pudding is not the best barbecue side. Maybe I was a little ambitious with the wording of this question, but I love banana pudding so much, and it is so much a staple of my barbecue restaurant evaluation life and eating life that I thought that it just had to be up there. Plus, I've had the best banana pudding to date over at Truth Barbecue out there in Houston. And
banana pudding, yeah.
Do you make banana pudding at the restaurant?
We do. It's a staple in barbecue restaurants. You have to have a very well-established, in my opinion, scratch-made banana pudding. I don't like my bananas in slices. I like them chopped up. And we use a Biscoff cookie of vanilla, your traditional vanilla wafer.
Mm-hmm. Did you start originally with a vanilla wafer, or did you elevate right off the bat?
So we started with a vanilla wafer. Making the custard from scratch was key for sure, because we're in North Carolina and that's the number one dessert in the state. I actually the vanilla wafers to a catering, and I sent one of my guys to go grab a cookie. They were out of vanilla wafers. I said, grab whatever cookie he thinks best. He grabbed scoffs. And then we did that dessert. This was a repeat catering, and the customer came up to me and said, "You're an absolute genius. You're always leveling it up." And I was like, "You're welcome." So it's just by happenstance, and I tried it, and I thought, that little bit of those notes that the cookie establishes, and they're made in Raleigh too, by the way. The Biscoff is made, the factory's in Raleigh, so it's a local cookie, and it just works really well. So it's a really, really funny, happy mistake.
I figured the guy went right from the supermarket to the nearest regional airport and scoured through all the airplanes and stole all the Biscoff cookies. I didn't know you could buy Biscoff cookie like you could a Cheez-It.
Yeah, it's actually one of the top-selling cookies in Walmart. So, do you know the top-selling item in Walmart?
Toilet paper?
That's actually what everyone guesses. It's actually bananas.
Is it really?
It is.
Wow.
Number one purchased item at Walmart for like the past 20 years. Isn't it?
Wow, that's the number one purchased item. All right, so today was worthwhile. I've learned something new today, that bananas are the number one item purchased at Walmart. All right, Chris, so let's dial it all the way back. And when we were sound checking yesterday, you hit me with some shit that absolutely floored me, and it was just very casual, very offhand, that you have been a listener of the Barbecue Central show, not for just some time, not for just a long time, but all the way from the very beginning back in 2006 when the show was originally a podcast doing barbecue roundtables, eventually 2 years later, graduating into the live show. You've been here for the full ride right from the beginning.
Yeah, my career has come full circle tonight. Speaking with you and being on this show. It's something we actually, Nelson Caldwell and I, is a competitor I would travel with, of Old Dominion Smokehouse. We would actually burn your episodes on DVDs and listen to them on the way to the contests. And then while in the contest trailer, right before we would go to bed, we would listen to the DVDs again. And, you were the only one just talking about barbecue, talking about our lifestyle. So it was just a really cool thing to just hear you talk about it. And, I've been following you since I was a kid, and, here we are talking about it today. So it's definitely an exciting moment.
When do you get introduced to barbecue? Is it something you grow up around and it's just part of the family, or do you get into it a little later? I mean, you said you've been listening to me since I'm a kid. So, I mean, it couldn't have been too much later, but how does it happen, I guess?
Sure. My parents immigrated from Puerto Rico. My dad was getting his PhD at Texas A&M. So I was born in Bryan, Texas. Then we moved when I was 3 to a very small one-cow town outside of Houston called Richmond, Rosenberg area. Richmond was the town. And every small Texas town has a local barbecue restaurant. And my father would take us there. And, it was just a cuisine he hadn't had before in Puerto Rico. And we loved it. And being Texan, it's part of your history to eat barbecue, tacos, kolaches, you name it. And we got our grill actually in 1995. Started grilling together. Really, it was just a hobby because, that's just the Texas way. The Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo would always go in town. As a kid, I would travel around. The most fascinating part was the barbecue competition side of things. As a kid, the competitors let me on their trailers. I would look in their pits. They did all kinds of crazy cool stuff. And I was just fascinated with the craft, to be honest. It was such an impactful food to me right away. Right away. My first bite, I was in love. There was no turning back. And my life was just replicating that moment over and over again. It really didn't get super serious till I started growing up, and I knew I wanted to be in barbecue in some capacity. I wanted to either work in a barbecue restaurant or own a barbecue restaurant. I just was fascinated with the craft. I mean, it's a cultivated culinary masterpiece that you can create through fire, and that just was so magical to me. And it just worked well with my brain. I really loved playing with fire as a kid, so it kind of worked out. And it just grew from there. It grew stronger and stronger through high school. And then in high school, we actually had to move. My dad was in oil and gas, and for a short period, we had to move right at the end of high school to Jacksonville, Florida. So that's where I finished off high school. Went to college in Tampa, Florida, St. Leo University. And while I was there, I have always cooked a lot the whole time. I was really into, in college, wanting to open a barbecue restaurant. And that was kind of a passion of mine. When I shifted gears and my parents moved to Raleigh, North Carolina, I moved up here with them to finish school in East Carolina University. And then I, bought my own grills, put them in the backyard, really started dialing in what I wanted to achieve, because I saw I grew up without the internet. So when I wanted to learn barbecue, it was you just had to be terrible.
So when you're talking about buying your own grills and getting your own place, just for a timeline perspective, what years are we talking about here?
Let's see, 2001, 2002 is when I really started getting a glimpse into competition barbecue. And I wanted to get my own smoker and really start practicing to be a professional cook.
How are you finding out about how to do it? How do you find out about the first competition?
Well, actually, it's quite funny. There wasn't a lot of content out there. There was a barbecue forum. There's all kinds of barbecue forums back in there. There's the barbecue forum. So I would read through that, and really, Stephen Reichland's and stuff like that, they were putting out the barbecue content. So, you're following along the path of their recipes, not getting too much. Competition barbecue is so much different than just cooking in the backyard.
Yeah.
And my first contest was 2004 in Lumberton, North Carolina. And I truly realized I was in the wrong place. I was in the right place with my people, but I was in the wrong place, as in I wasn't yet qualified to be at this caliber. That was the first time I ever laid my eyes on a Lang 60 reverse flow with the curved sides, not these flat ones they make now. I laid eyes on a Jambo J3 with smoking triggers. I saw a Jed Master butt rub cooked on, if you've ever seen. And I think the only Jed Master, I'm pretty sure he has it, but Chris Lilly still cooks on his Jed Master.
Yeah, so does John Marcus, the TV producer. He still has a classic Jed Master that he uses. Yep.
Yeah, that is the one cooker I've yet to own, and I'm after. I was just searching last month so if there's anyone out there with the Jed Master for sale, hit me up for sure. Let's do business.
So how do you find out about competitions?
So on the barbecue forum, I started seeing people talk about, being in a KCBS competition. And I would just ask, what is KCBS? They said Kansas City Barbecue Society. Then I started watching them turn in boxes, what they were doing. And I was just really fascinated. Barbecue community is really special. They love talking about barbecue, elevating each. And I just asked a lot of questions. How do I enter? People answered every question I ever had, and it would be midnight, and I could be talking barbecue on the forum, and they would answer within seconds because everyone was on the barbecue forums. So I found out how to sign up and I turned in my entry form for Lumberton, and that off to the races. My first rep kind of explained a lot more to me than I thought, than I assumed what I was looking at doing. So with garnishing a box, doing meat checks, I had I believe at that time KCBS had some type of printable rules and regulations, so I would just read those. And I bought chef jackets. I named the team Buccaneers Better BQ. I have no idea why. Please don't ask. But I found a wingding on Word, and it was a ship. And I was reading a barbecue history cookbook talking about Buccaneers smoking meats, and it's a pretty dumb name now that I think about it. But I still have the banner in my pit room restaurant, the original banner that I got for free for like answering a survey online. So they made me a free banner.
How did that first competition work out?
It was pretty terrible, to be honest. I actually love showing barbecue people when they come to my house my first turn-in boxes, because I had no clue what I was doing. I thought the burn ends, I just cut up a bunch of flat into chunks and just served that. I was cooking flats. I was doing a mop, a Jim Good mop. So it was Good's Barbecue out of Houston, Texas. They had a mop recipe they were well known for. So I did the Jim Good mop, and it was terrible and very dry. I did it on modified char grillers and a Brinkman that was an electrical Brinkman that we got in the 90s. And I plugged the hole with a piece of foil because I was told we couldn't plug in the element. And actually won 6th place chicken on that. The sauce consisted of raspberry, walnut, Kins dressing, honey, and ketchup.
Wow.
It's pretty terrible.
Yeah, but what do you know, right? I mean, especially back then, you're just, I would imagine competitions back then, you were probably rewarded for being a little bit more daring, or as Daniel Vaughn would say, especially on this show, being a little bit more courageous, where nowadays, like you can't venture outside of the vanilla box without getting smacked.
That's right. I mean, back then I was just so passionate about barbecue. I just wanted to be around my people, my village, and talk barbecue. I mean, just the energy there, just from a standpoint, was electric. And the people I was meeting are legends now. I mean, Tuffy was there, Bad Brian was there, Smoking Triggers was there. It was unbelievable, and they were so nice to kind of show me around. I wasn't even 21 yet, so I was just a kid. I was 19, 20, somewhere in that delta when I did my first contest. So I couldn't even drink, and I was out there with my chef coat, just wanting to learn as much as possible. And I remember being the only one to raise my hand during the cooks meeting as being the first time cook, and every competitor coming up to me saying, "Hey, come by my tent, I'll give you some pointers. Hey, if you need help trimming." One of the guys showed me how to demembrane ribs with a paper towel. I've never seen that before. So I was like, this guy's a magician, So it was just, it was fantastic. I'll never forget that day. I still have the $25 check that I won framed. I never cashed it. I loved it so much. I was so excited and proud. And that's what started the engine, really. I mean, all I did every single weekend from there on was save my money for the next contest, practice as much as I could, read as much form as I could to try to get, what are people injecting with, how are boxes looking, what's going on. And little by little, being absolutely horrific, I started to get better and better. Just, like barbecue, everyone starts off bad. I've never known anyone that just spontaneously creates great barbecue. It's all done with the reps, understanding the thermal dynamics of your pit, understanding flavor profiles and how they work with the judges. All those things really matter in competition barbecue back in the day.
Did you realize, right along, that the end goal was going to be opening up a barbecue restaurant at some point? Or did you have, by X age, I'm going to be in a brick and mortar barbecue restaurant?
Yeah, it's always been the goal. I drew the restaurant that I'm actually in right now at that age. I knew exactly what I wanted to achieve, and I just had to frame it, put it on paper, and say, every stick I put on my fire is for this. This is the output. Every decision I make, just like we do in barbecue, it's not the best brisket seasoned with the best seasoning. It's really maintaining a very consistent fire, and that output is the broken down perfect collagen of that piece of meat through that consistency. And I did have a goal of being a restaurateur when I was 30. I said 30 years old. By the time I'm 30, I want to be a very successful restaurateur. And if my 30-year-old self was sitting in this room right now, I'd slap him and say, you're not ready. You have a lot more to learn. So I was 36 when I opened Prime. And next week I turn 42.
You surprised you've made it, or is this all part of the plan?
No. I'm not surprised I made it. I mean, a lot of success is based on preparation, meaning timing, and I really believe all the due diligence I put in with my, having the right mentors that spoke into my personal life, my spiritual life, my barbecue life, and being a good, strong restaurateur mattered. I took it seriously. Every single day I studied it. I wanted day one to be a success. And, to do that, you got to put in the time. You got to put in the time and the reps, and a lot of studying. I took mentoring as a very serious thing. If I would meet someone very successful in the business and we became good friends, I would, make sure that relationship had fruit going both ways. And, I opened May of 2020. So the circumstance is never going to be perfect to open a barbecue restaurant. But I knew a lot of things in the algorithm of how barbecue restaurants work. I couldn't go small to big. I had to start off big, meaning I went from catering company. I was traveling and doing TV shows and writing cookbooks and doing those things and competition barbecue stuff straight into the restaurant because I had the knowledge and framework to, establish that. In this business, you have to make a big splash. You have to be immediately recognized. And, my time of diversifying my portfolio prior to opening that restaurant, I couldn't go in cold. I did Barbecue Pitmasters. I did a couple different other TV shows with Chopped and Man Fire Food and some barbecue documentaries. And I wrote a cookbook, and I traveled the country teaching barbecue and being an influencer and really taking the time to see what other restaurants are doing out there. And, that I did all that before opening the restaurant. That's what I recommend to a lot of restaurateurs now.
Chris, we're out of time, and we could go on for hours, undoubtedly. So I'm going to quickly send you a link to Rebook so we can talk about getting into the actual restaurant business and what that looks like.
Sure.
And I'm sure we got segments plenty down the road here, but absolute knockout first time here on the show. Appreciate you coming in. And again, really appreciate the kind words that you were talking about last night, and how long you've been kind of listening and a fan of the show. Really means a lot to me. So continued success, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you so much for having me on, Greg. Truly an honor.
You got it. Chris Prieto right there of Prime Barbecue. He's got to be the longest time fan ever. I used to think it was Phil White up until yesterday when Chris hit me with, I've been listening since 2006, original podcast. We were burning the shows to DVDs and taking them to competitions and listening to them as we were falling asleep. I think that's the longest fan, besides my mom's and my dad's. Appreciate you, Chris. All right, are you tired of diets that make you choose between good food and real results? Well, you don't have to anymore. David McDowell has cracked the code. His personalized fat loss coaching for barbecue lovers lets you eat the food you love, like ribs, brisket, wings, and still lose weight. Get lean, feel amazing. Now, this isn't a fad. It's a proven strategy that includes barbecue-friendly meal plans, tailored health strategies, and weekly check-ins. So you're never guessing, never alone, never forced to give up what you love. And if you want to be part of something bigger, to surround yourself with like-minded barbecue lovers who are dropping weight, getting stronger, staying motivated, then online, the diet group is where you need to be. Here's the deal. You can keep struggling on your own, or you can plug into a system that works. Join now, get exclusive access, expert coaching, real-world strategies, and a support crew that won't let you fail. Go to school.com/BBQ. That's S-K-O-O-L, school, SKOOL.com/BBQ right now. And take the first step, because you can have barbecue and your dream bod too. You got to take action. No finer example than your humble hosts on week 14 now. Getting ready to run a 5K this coming weekend in the 50 and over category. What is the 50 and over category? Is that every other age past 50? Am I going to be 80-year-olds? Are they in there? Is there 65 and forever? All will be told on Saturday down at Edgewater Park. I can tell you that. We're back with Daniel Vaughn right after this. Stick around. Be right back.
You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Whole packers, full racks, legs and thighs, injecting butts. If you've never heard this before, you might think you found the best XXX show ever. Let's get back to the most homoerotic host out there today, Greg Rempe.
And we thank Chris Prieto for joining me last segment from Prime Barbecue, prime-bbq.com, his website. Helping me close the show tonight, making his second appearance in the year of 2025, is the barbecue editor for Texas Monthly Magazine. Let's race to the hotline and welcome in our pal Daniel Vaughn. DV, there he is. YouTube poll question of the week.
How's it going?
Absolutely great, of course. What could be bad about a Tuesday night in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame city? Getting into the teeth of summer, maybe. I mean, I don't even know if it's been 80 degrees yet, but it might get there someday here this summer, this year. YouTube poll question of the week, and we're asking everybody this, including all guests. Is banana pudding the best barbecue side? Yes or no?
Oh, yes.
Yes. All right, that has been hotly debated here tonight. By the way, 62% of the YouTube voting public is saying no. It's not the best barbecue side.
Well,
because
see, I say it because if you let if the barbecue joint lets you order the banana pudding as a side, that's bonus points right there.
Yeah,
like they're not making you order it as separately as a dessert, right? So yeah, you get a little dessert with the meal. Like it feels like a bonus.
So I'm completely 100%ly with you on everything you've just said. And then if we're going to say, okay, well, banana pudding isn't a side, it's a dessert, then banana pudding is here. Like, you can't even see my hand. This is how good it is. And then everything else is here, down here, where you can't see my hand. It is such a drastic delta between whatever the next best barbecue dessert is. Now, if it's not good, I guess whatever. But I couldn't even think of a better barbecue dessert than banana pudding. And would you say if that can hurt an overall rating of you could be at a magnificent barbecue restaurant, and if it's a crap or average banana pudding, or heaven forbid, no banana pudding at all, that's something that would stick in your mind?
Yeah, like a terrible banana pudding certainly would, especially that one that's got like the really brown bananas. It's obvious it was made 5 or 6 days ago, and like that. Yeah, like they don't even come out in a chunk anymore. They just kind of string out of there as you take your spoon out of the pudding. Yeah, that could certainly make a difference.
Believe it or not, about 3 weeks ago or so, a Texas Monthly releases its latest round of best of barbecue restaurants, 50 best. So you name the 10, and then all the other ones just kind of get cattle called into a mention without necessarily a number. Was it new this year to say also we have something else in addition to the top 50?
No, so we do it every 4 years, and it does change up. It often changes up, but last time around we did a ranked top 10, and then we did 40 more in our top 50, and then we had 50 more honorable mentions.
Okay.
And so, yeah, this was the same format, back-to-back lists.
I'm not going to ask the painfully stupid, obvious question of what does being number one do if you're on Texas Monthly's top barbecue list. But I will ask this. If you are in the 50 honorable mentions, how much help is that for a business versus the obvious being number one and catapulting you to cataclysmic fame overnight?
Yeah, I think so much of it has to do with just that particular restaurant's reputation already. So there's different ways that different barbecue joints view being in the honorable mentions. Of course, those that came out of the top 50 and are now in the honorable mentions, they see that some as a slight. Those that are brand new and have not been on any of our lists see that honorable mention as like they feel honored by it, right? And those are the places that are going to benefit a lot more. Those ones that aren't a known quantity yet. So, if you're already a really well-known barbecue joint, like say a Killen's Barbecue in Pearland, being an honorable mention isn't really going to change much of anything about your business. It's already established. It's already popular. But a place like Weaver's Barbecue in Dayton, a little food truck that wrote about shortly before the list came out, but a lot of people still hadn't heard about that place. And so that being put on your list there, we have a passport for the top 50, and people can go to each of the 50 and get their stamp. But I've already seen people on Facebook and elsewhere say that they're starting their passport, their own like DIY passport with the honorable mentions. Unfortunately, we've already lost one of them. Literally the day that the top 50 came out, one of the honorable mentions, Moot's Barbecue in Winnie, down in Southeast Texas, announced that they were closing the restaurant and we're just going to be catering only. And I certainly don't think it was related. I don't think not making the top 50 turned into like a rash decision the day of to close down. But yeah,
I figure that would be the day you hang on. You make any list on Texas Monthly that has your name on it, you would want to ride it out for a couple weeks and see if it helps spike business.
Well, yeah, and I think the other thing that we've seen, especially, when we release it when we want to, which is right around now. Last time, because of COVID, we had to release it a little late. It was in November. It wasn't really barbecue season, but we released it right after Memorial Day. Barbecue road trips are still in high season. And I think it gets people juiced up and excited about barbecue. And so I've heard from other barbecue joints that aren't in the top 50 that it's really just increased business because, they're, the people who read about barbecue or hearing about barbecue all the time, all of a sudden interested in like, let's get out to my local joint.
For the new folks that are here, let's not spend a terrible amount of time, but what's the thumbnail sketch of how the list is actually generated and then pushed out?
Yeah, well, every 4 years we get a team together at Texas Monthly, and this time around it was 25 people plus me. And I give them a tutorial on what exactly we're looking for the top 50 criteria. We all meet together. I go over I go over everything that they should be looking for while they're out on the road, and they've got about 4 months to complete their, say, 12 or 15 different barbecue joint visits and come back with a score sheet based on the brisket, the ribs, the sausage, the turkey, the barbecue, right? And other things are included on that score sheet, but it really comes down to the barbecue. And we compile all those scores, and then at the beginning of the year, I get all of those and then do all the legwork required to check up on places that have a surprisingly high or surprisingly low score, or just those places I think have potential for top 10. And I think in a 2-month period, I went to over 100 barbecue joints from the beginning of January to the beginning of March to really finalize the list.
How many miles is that from a travel standpoint?
I didn't actually, I didn't add up all the miles, and a lot of that is flying as well because Texas is so big.
Yeah.
But I do know that we spent at Texas Monthly just on receipts, reimbursing barbecue receipts was $26,000 for the whole group over that 6-month period.
So I'm looking at the top 10 list over at TexasMonthly.com. Daniel's website, by the way, tmbbq.com, as you can see below his name. And there's a lot of names that I believe I've seen before. I can't sit here and tell you if they were on the top 10 list or the top 10 list the last time or not, but just names of familiarity. So the last number one on the list, or last list number one, was Goldie's Barbecue, which fell all the way down to number 3. So
the horror.
Yeah, not a gargantuan tumble by any stretch. I would imagine to be within the top 10 in successive lists has been great. I was pontificating if there had ever been a back-to-back number one on lists. Has that happened before?
No, there has not. I will say that in 97 and 2003 and in 2008, those lists included just like a grouping of a top 4 and top 5, and there were repeats in that. So Louis Miller Barbecue and Taylor, Kreitz Market and Lockhart, those were repeats in that sort of upper echelon. But no, so since I've come on as the barbecue editor in 2013, we've had Franklin Barbecue as number 1 in 2013, Snow's Barbecue in 2017, of course Goldie's in 2021, and then this year, Burnt Bean Co. in Seguin, Texas.
What makes Ernest and Dave so great?
I mean, they're really just a great duo. Ernest has got that chef's mentality, and David is just the workhorse there with the barbecue pits and making sure everything that comes out of them is perfect. They have a huge variety to their menu. I think one thing that people really know them for is their Sunday barbecue service, their breakfast service. This just fantastic barbecue brunch of brisket, huevos rancheros, and the Blue October of a croissant sandwich with a big fat slab of brisket on there and a fried egg and cream cheese and strawberry. It sounds like kind of a ridiculous combination of ingredients, and it's just magical. But then you have the straight up barbecue, and their brisket is unmatched. Some of their specials, like their Korean beef ribs on Sundays and the lamb ribs with the chimichurri they serve, like. It's really special. And they serve so much, which leaves so much room for mistakes, and they just don't make any.
When you tell David and Ernest that they're going to be released as number one, like how far in advance do they know? And then is it a crazy change from like that next day as soon as the list drops? Is the line around, instead of 2 city blocks, is it around 10 city blocks at that point?
Well, first, we don't tell them. The list comes out and they learn it.
Wow.
That is how we try to keep it secret as long as we can. And, this time I say secret, like the list wasn't leaked or anything, but Burnt Bean and Leroy and Lewis at number 2. I mean, both of these places, known quantities. I think a lot of people had either one of those as their guess for number 1. And so I don't think it came as a big surprise like Goldie's did back in 2021. Goldie's sort of came out of nowhere. These places, I mean, people know about them. People love them. People talk about them as the best in Texas before this list came out. So, that was certainly the number one prediction that I saw, was that Burnt Bean would be number 1. And I just had to, zip my lip and wait 3 months after after we'd actually made the final decision until we could release it. But yeah, we didn't tell them ahead of time at all. And, a lot of that is, we want them to be surprised along with everyone else. And we released it on a Tuesday, and a lot of these places don't open until, Thursday or Friday. So they had a couple of days to prepare. I think they assumed they would be in the top 10. I think the way that we did it this time around too, with we only sent photographers to the top 10, and they started talking to each other, and there were guesses about why photographers showed up at certain places, and then fact checkers talking, and anyway, the prediction game went on and on. But it's funny how many places I heard were absolutely this is the number one spot, and I saw the leaked list and I know it for a fact, and it's this one, or they're not going to name a number one, I know it for a fact, or it's a tied number one. And I saw a lot of those predictions that were sort of touted as inside information.
Does Vegas take action on this list?
No, I didn't see it anywhere. I didn't see any wagers, but the guys at the Tales from the Pit podcast, they were working with the barbecue distro folks to you could enter, I think it was free to enter. You could enter your own guesses, and I think you had to guess up to the top 10 or maybe the top 5. I'm not sure exactly. I didn't feel like it was quite fair for me to enter.
When you look at the top 10, I only know how to ask this one way. Like, who sticks out to you as kind of a surprise to you that they made the top 10, considering everything else that's available?
Yeah, well, and I'm glad you said it that way, because a lot of these do end up being surprises to me. And I say that because a place like Lavaca Barbecue in Port Lavaca, I've eaten there before. I really enjoyed the food. Had great experiences there, enough to put them in the top 50 the last time around. But you get this assumption that you know what a place is doing today based on what you ate 2-3 years ago. And, our scores came back, and the taster that went out there was like, this is a different kind of place now. This place is amazing. And I went there fully skeptical. Like, I know this is good, but how much better can it be? The menu doesn't look any different. And just the menu wasn't any different. It was the same stuff that was, every item was just better than it had been last time. So that one was a surprise. GW's Barbecue down in San Juan, down in the valley. That was another one that was a surprise. It just how good it had gotten. Like, again, a place that I had written about glowingly when I first reviewed it, but they were just on another level when I went back to visit for the top 50. So yeah, those would certainly be the two that stick out. And, Interstellar Barbecue is there still in our top 10, and they were number 2 last time. And so I would say that those two spots are sort of our interstellar of this list, of the place that I knew was good, but I didn't know quite how good they had gotten over the last few years until I went back to revisit.
So to the other side of that, were there any surprise tumbles?
Yeah, a couple of them. Killen's Barbecue in Pearland, I mentioned. It's been on the top 50 ever since they opened. And they are such a big part of why Houston barbecue is popular today. And I just had a really rough visit there when I went to do my double checking. And it was one of those visits that I was like, well, if we put it on the top 50 based on this meal, then another customer who has this meal is probably not going to be very pleased if they come here to visit because it's in the top 50. So that's the way we've got to look at it. It's not, we can't ever be totally right, but we got to be as fair as we can be. Mickleweight Craft Barbecue, another one in Austin, another one that it hurt. I thought for sure that they were going to just get even better when they moved into the brick and mortar, and just each time the brisket just wasn't quite there. And I tried over multiple visits to find what I knew they could do and what I'd had there before. And I think maybe it was just unlucky timing for my visits. I'm not sure, but that one was a big surprise to me as well.
Some of the old guard that I've seen take numbers in previous lists are also in Best of the Rest. La Barbecue, Franklin Barbecue, and Style Switch Barbecue. Have they...
Snow's Barbecue?
Yeah, so all places I would love to eat at the drop of a hat. Like, no disrespect coming here. But do you get to a point where you just have hit your peak? You're like the running back on an NFL team. You're really great for that first contract. You signed the big contract, and now you're after that, your value is over per se, and now you're kind of at the tail end. So you're still a good running back, a serviceable running back, but you're just not going to command that second contract that you got after that first big rookie contract.
Yeah, no, I don't really see it that way because
okay.
you know those running backs are wearing out, right? They're degrading.
I don't know. Nick Chubb seems to be finding a whole new career after he's tore both of his knees out multiple times.
Sure. Yeah, but they're getting roughed up, and they're not as quick as they used to be.
Yeah.
And that's the reason they're just getting worn out, right? And that's not the case with these barbecue joints. Like a place like Franklin and Snow's Barbecue are still putting out just incredible barbecue. If we're gonna stick with a sports analogy, I guess it would be more like if you were in that top 10 last time, it's kind of like being an Olympic sprinter. And then when it comes time for the next Olympics, everybody's faster. And it's just all the new folks who come in to challenge are faster and stronger, and just taking barbecue to new heights. So it's kind of, it is a little unfair, and I say that because if you've hit legendary status and you're a place like Franklin and Snow's Barbecue, then you're going to be serving that same menu that people expect when they come from Australia or Europe or Africa to come eat your food, right? You want to serve them what you're known for, and not really deviate much. And it's tough to do. It's tough to be on the cutting edge, I guess, if you're sort of have the expectation of serving that same menu the same way, year after year, decade after decade.
Anything else about the list you want to let us know about or tell us about that we don't know?
Just a lot of food trucks, and certainly barbecue food trucks have become the new barbecue shack, that shack where you might start out first, and like Chris Prieto didn't have to deal with. You start off small and grow. It was interesting to hear him talk, like the way he really felt the pressure to make a big splash.
Yeah.
When he started, because it totally goes against my advice to most barbecue joint owners, which is they get into it because they have a passion for barbecue, and that passion for barbecue usually is because they're pretty good at cooking barbecue, and that doesn't often translate into being a good business person. And so you gain those skills more slowly, I think. And so starting off slowly and starting your business small, that would be my advice to any entrepreneurs out there who are looking to get into barbecue. It is start off small, start off with fewer hours and fewer days that you're going to be serving, fewer menu items, and then grow from there based on your popularity of your barbecue joint or the popularity of individual dishes, and keep it going from there.
Any big stories that you're working on we should be on the lookout for?
Well, right now I'm writing about Yammy's Filipino Lechon, doing a little offshoot of barbecue, going with Puerto Rican Filipino barbecue. It's sort of the national dish for each one of those locations, and so. There's this great food truck in Round Rock, Texas, who's doing it, and they're using just bellies instead of whole pigs, but you get that super crispy skin, and but they're also serving a whole Filipino menu. So if you want to get adventurous and try some dishes that maybe are unfamiliar to you, like I had earlier this week, last week, I tried their the dinaguan. Which is it's a Filipino blood stew, like pig blood stew, and it's often made with pork offal, but this is made with pork belly and pork blood. And I see the look on your face, and and when I was going to take a bite, I expected this this hit of minerality, right?
Yeah,
iron flavor, and it was so good. I mean, it was so good. And I brought it to some other people to eat, and they were skeptical as well. And they tried it. And just with all the herbs, all the lemongrass that's in there and ginger, it's just it's magical stuff. Like
Wow.
it was really, really good. I was super impressed. So just, kind of, I've still got plenty of barbecue joints to write about out there. It's just fun to do something a little, it's just a little different than brisket, ribs, and sausage.
I'm going back to Houston in a couple weeks. Where do I want to eat? That's not.
You got to go to Truth Barbecue.
I've been there.
It's Truth Barbecue, man.
No doubt.
And you can go for dinner as well. So they got their dinner hours, but brisket and rice is a new one on our list. And man, it's a fun one because they've got some unique dishes with the brisket fried rice, of course. But they have this poor man's macaroni, which is a sort of Americanized Vietnamese staple, and it is kind of overcooked pasta and a sauce made with chopped bacon and tomato paste. And it is filling and delicious and just super savory.
Wow.
Yeah, that was one of my favorites there. And then you get that right alongside like this classic Central Texas smoked beef sausage, along with your brisket fried rice. So yeah, that's a fun one.
All right, brisket and rice. So we're going to try that out when we head down there. We're talking to Daniel Vaughn, and if you haven't perused it yet, make sure you stop over to the website and check out the new top 50 list. Daniel, always appreciate the time, and we'll see you again in 3 months.
Absolutely. Great to see you.
You too. It's our pal Daniel Vaughn over there at Texas Monthly. TMBBQ.com, his website, of course, so make sure that you are checking it out on a frequent basis and checking out what Daniel is writing about. Always bringing you interesting stories, but then some very unique outside the box stories. Always keeping you wanting more, keeping you coming back to see what's happening in the live fire world. All right, before we wrap it up, let's talk quickly about Green Mountain Grills. For 17 years, Green Mountain Grills has brought the smoke to the competition scene and the backyards all over the world. Their Venturi-style firebox delivers the cleanest 150-degree smoke in the pellet game. The new redesigned 2025 Prime 2.0 grill blends the proven technology of the past with the technology of the future. GMG, the original innovator in all things Wi-Fi, continuing to give the user granular options to control your grill in any environment and from anywhere. Green Mountain Grill also leading the pack in accessory creation, from their pizza attachment that delivers pizza in 2 minutes to rotisseries to add-on side burners. Check out the new 2.0 Green Mountain Grill at greenmountaingrills.com. And as Steve Ray said in his segment, selling like hotcakes in Ooltewah, Tennessee, which means they're selling like hotcakes everywhere. That's a microcosm of the country, for crying out loud. All right, we're back to wrap the show right after this. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Let's get back to a guy who has more experience giving you his opinion than he actually has cooking. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
All right, welcome back. We thank Daniel Vaughn for joining us last segment. TMBBQ.com is his website. Pit Life Barbecue Podcast. I believe the Ranch Kettle can cook 220 hot dogs. Wow.
Hey, everybody. Can I trouble you for a yeah?
That's a lot of hot dogs. Like all the hot dogs, evidently. 220. That's enough for a Cleveland Guardians baseball game on a Saturday, to say the least. All right, let's go ahead and get out of here. All the way back in the first hour, Ryan Zaboral from Pits and Spits. Then we had a Steve Ray with a look at, was it Jimmy? Is that his name, Jimmy? Second hour, we had first-time guest Chris Prieto of Prime Barbecue, prime-bbq.com, and then closing it out with Daniel Vaughn from Texas Monthly, tmbbq.com. By the way, Pits and Spits is Pits and Spits, all spelled out with a double T on the pitsandspits.com. And then Steve Ray's website, owlsnestbbq.com. You can believe it, we're already in the 4th week of June, next Tuesday. And we'll be in the teeth of summer here before you know it. Big show planned for you next week. You know, the second hour is going to have the embedded correspondence. We have other guests in the first hour as well that I'm not even going to tell you about. It's too secret. But it might have something to do with the earth burning. We'll let that one cast. See what bites we get. So, how do I always leave you? September 11th, 2001. I will never forget. Until next Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern, this is your program host and proud U.S. American Greg Rempe saying, "Oh, that's nice."
Ooh, this is nice.
It's Sam the Cooking Guy, and you're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Some call him a fool, some even call him a douchebag. But I say Greg Rempe is the greatest thing to happen to barbecue since cavemen.